right, welcome to this episode of the Start, Build, Grow Show. All right, everybody. As you know, we've done a number of these shows now, and the premise of this show is to share the entrepreneurial journey in the roofing and construction space. And our guest today has an amazing journey that I'm just so excited to learn more about, as well as share with you, the viewers and listeners of the show. We want to, and I'm not going to dive too heavily into it because she has so much to show. I've been a fan of yours for a number of years now. I've watched what you've done in the roofing space. On different stages together and different events and those sort of things. And it's just so cool what you've been doing and how you are able to create unique opportunities to give back to the roofing industry. But welcome, Letitia Hanke. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here.
That's so awesome. And you're a roofing owner, right? ARS Roofing, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
That's correct. And you started at something called the Lime
years.
Foundation.
That's correct. That's my nonprofit.
Yeah, awesome. So, and you have the Lime Foundation. So I don't want to cannibalize this thing. Let's start from the beginning. How did you get into roofing? How did you get into, you transitioned in your own roofing company and you saw, a challenge within the space, and boom, the Lime Foundation was born. And I feel like that's from what I know of you and what I've heard from your story, that's probably the biggest passion project out of all of this stuff. Is that correct?
It is. Yeah, I started off in roofing like most young people. I went to college right out of high school. And, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I'm a musician, so I wanted to be a rock star. That's literally when I graduated, I was 17. I'm like, I'm going to go to school for music and I'm going to be like this big rock star. And really all I was broke in college the whole time. And in my junior year of college, I needed a real job where I could pay my bills. I was paying my way through college. And I saw an ad in the paper for a receptionist position at a roofing company. It was a pretty prominent roofing company at the time. And I'm just like, sure, let me apply. I had those skills from working at the college campus. And I applied and ended up getting that job and started working there. I was there for about a year just as the receptionist, answering phones, filing basics. And my boss ended up firing his office manager a year into it and asked if I wanted to move up to her position. And that I had only been there for a year, and now I'm going to be like running and managing this company. And I'm just like 20 something years old. I'm like, sure, why not? I think I was like 21, almost 22. I'm like, sure, I'll do it. And then just really kept going from there. I went from office manager for about 2 years or so, and then he made me the manager of the company. The business started growing. And once I became the manager, my boss said, hey, I'm looking to retire in a few years, and I want you to buy my company. And I said, huh? I'm not a roofer. What do you mean buy your company? He said, well, are you willing to learn? And again, I'm a young buck, right? I was 24 years old. I said, sure, why not? Why not? And for another 4 years or so, I've had to learn how to roof so I can get my contractor's license. I'm in California, so we have to have an actual contractor's license. You take several tests. And I passed my test in 2003. And then in 2004, I made the decision that I wanted to start my own company. And I bought the assets of his company and started my own in 2004.
Awesome. So walk me through that decision-making process. I mean, he was ready to kind of hand over his brand, but you kind of wanted to have your own brand and do that. What was the thought process there?
My whole process around it was that I really wanted my own thing. I was very appreciative of the opportunity, but taking over his company meant I took over his liability, and I didn't want that. I didn't want to take on someone else's liability, taking on somebody, whatever decisions someone else made. I didn't want to be responsible for that. I wanted to have, my own fresh business. And so I made that decision. It was not easy because I needed to get a bunch of money for it. And that was not a very easy process for me to get the money to buy his assets. And I got help from a lot of community members that pointed me in the right direction to a bank that finally said, yeah, we'll give you a chunk of money. Here you go. We want to take a chance on you. And that's how it all happened.
Awesome. Yeah, and I mean that comes up a lot in our space nowadays. It seems it's been prevalent for a long time. Buying and selling roofing companies, it's happened for years and years, but it just seems like that's the buzzword, of the last couple of years, is that there's a lot of transactions happening where either people are retiring and selling off their companies to employees, or companies are being built and sold all over the place. And I think there's a subtle thing you mentioned there. She bought the assets, but not the stock, if that makes sense. So if you're looking at a stock sale versus an asset sale, if you're buying the stock of a company, you're actually buying the history of that company as well. So you got to be careful. And that's something I purchased a company a few years back as well. And we did the same thing where we actually separated out. I bought all the assets as like a separate transaction. And then we had a deadline on, anything prior to this day was legacy, and they were still responsible for any sort of warranty or any issues there. And then once we executed the purchase, then we took over, anything moving forward, then we would take over those liabilities. Be careful. A lot of people are having fun. Hey, I want to go buy businesses, but be careful there, because and if you're listening to this, you're a roofing owner, just because you got something smooth sailing right now, that doesn't mean something can't come up from a year ago, 6 months ago, 5 years ago. So be very careful. I mean, it's fun to go out there and roof and hustle and make things happen, but you got to be really smart about like covering your rear end, if you will, right? And making sure you got the right insurances and the right backing in place, because that's the last thing we'd ever want to see somebody deal with is losing or having an issue with their company because of not having the right insurance or proper coverages there. So you got into roofing, and then walk me through the first few years of that.
The first few years were rough. I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, first of all, you're starting a new business from scratch. And, I did hire about 11. He had about 18 employees at the time. I hired 11 of them. So I'm starting off with a small team to start. And luckily, I had clientele already. So that was the great thing. But we started off during a time where, at that time it was raining a lot, so we had about 9 months of rain, and that's rare for where we are in California. So I'm going right into rainy season time for a couple years, and then the recession hit around 2008. There were some issues that happened with the transaction between the old company and mine, so I had to take on some liability that I shouldn't have in workers' comp. The workers' comp where I'm at, they actually made me take on the modification of my old boss's company. And because he didn't do a lot of safety, his mod was like, it was huge. And I had to pay 94 cents on every dollar for my employees. Wow. And that was starting off. It was insane. So for so many years, we were just in the red. I mean, I could not get out of the red. Normally when it takes 2 to 3 years on a new business, no, it took me like 8 years, because we kept having disaster after disaster, or just drama after drama. So it took a long time for me to pull out of that, but I just kept moving forward. I kept pivoting my business and changing the work that we did. I got more into commercial work, which was very prevalent in our area. And I just really flocked towards the things that were, doing very well. Even when we had during the recession portion, like Marin County and my area were still doing roofing. They were still doing a bunch of projects. So we were able to just flock to that area. And that's how we survived during that time. So my first few years were really, really rough. And I just was determined not to give up and just keep pushing forward. And I'm grateful every day that I continued on.
I absolutely love that. And I think it's a nice little reminder that entrepreneurship is not easy in general. Roofing, construction, it's not easy in general. And for those of you, a lot of entrepreneurs follow the show, listen to the show, a lot of roofing owners, a lot of people who want to be in roofing or want to be in construction in general. You and I, our stories can relate quite a bit. I mean, the first couple of years, we saw some ups and downs. And if you know my story, in year 3, that was right when the recession hit, and I did not have a team. I did not have all the things in place to be able to do that. And I wasn't paying attention enough. I was too busy hustling and trying to do things for the wrong reasons. And it caught me in the worst it could have. And I had to completely reset everything in my company. And I ended up going bankrupt. But looking back, I didn't quit. I kept going. I kept moving forward. I kept looking for other income streams, other ways to to grow the business. And what it did going through that, what it did was it opened my eyes up to there's a different perspective that you have to have as a business owner. I
Yes.
think, it's easy to just look at what's right in front of you or what's on fire right now. Let me focus on that. What's the challenge that I woke up with today? Who called me first this morning? They get my attention, right? And
Yes.
and we have to take a step back and look at the market around us. Okay, you're in California. It's not, you probably hear you travel the country and speak and hear all these roofers talking about hailstorm this, hailstorm that.
Yep.
That's not what roofing is all about. Like, we tend to have this like blinder that all roofing is just what our roofing is, and it's not the case. And
No.
even in the hail markets, there's going to be a time that you're not just going to get huge hailstorms every year. So you got to be thinking right now, what am I going to do 1 year, 2 year, 3 years from now when my market's shifting, and I'm not going to be able to just capture that the sky diamonds that just fall in my neighborhood, right? That's not going to
That's
happen all
correct.
the time. And you pivoted. You were able to do that because it's same scenario. It wasn't hail, but it was rain. I know
Right.
California quite a bit. I just got back from California a couple of days ago, and it doesn't rain there very often. A lot of
No.
family there. We travel there quite a bit. It does not rain there very often. When it
No.
does, you're really busy for a short period of time, and then you go back to some normalcy.
Yeah.
But you made adjustments. You looked at the market, and one of my favorite words in entrepreneurship you mentioned is pivot, right? You had to
Yes.
pivot away from what was going on, or what works today might not work tomorrow. So you always got to be looking for that pivot. Could speak to that, like the bigger picture of how you had to learn. You went from answering phones to admin to out on the roof, like figuring out roofing to be able to get your license, and then to entrepreneur, to visionary, to leader. What were some couple takeaways from that? How'd you get to that place, and what can some of our listeners learn from that?
What really helped me was realizing that I couldn't really do it on my own. I was determined to say, "Oh, I could do this on my own. I don't need help from anybody." And hiring a business coach, a life coach, a therapist, really helped me through it. My business coaches really helped me see things that I was not seeing. I would, great example of that. One of my business coaches would talk to me about a target market. What's your actual target market? And I'm just like, oh, it's this, is that, it's condos, it's commercial. And they said, okay, let's break that down a little bit more. And I remember that I was sending crews out to like a place that was an hour and 15 minutes away to install 10 feet of gutters. 10 feet. Or just
Mm.
say my estimators. I'd have someone call in, yeah, I need 10 feet of gutter. We're in Stinson Beach, which is about an hour and 15 to 20 minutes away from my main office. And I sent estimators down for like small stuff like that, and realized that I really wasn't making much money on it. The client usually was someone that we couldn't stand working with. And my coach helped me say, you need to like work with people that you like, or do the things that you like. And then also, don't do the things that you're not really actually making money on, that's not bringing you joy. And so we implemented a minimum. If a customer will call that's an hour out and they're just like, hey, we need 10 feet of gutter, we're like, great, we've got a $1,500 minimum. Would you like to have us, provide you an estimate? If they're like, yes, then I know for sure we're going to make a profit on it. And
Yeah.
that's what really helped me. Just little things like that helped my business, not only grow, but be, have, finally move us into the black. That's what moved us into the black, was recognizing those little things that we were doing where we were losing money. So that was very helpful, just listening to my coaches, and just paying attention to those things that they were saying and implementing those things. You can go to seminars and all kind of, things like that, but if you're not implementing those ideas, then, it's a waste of time. And I just simply implemented those things, and it grew my business
Yeah.
hugely.
And even it's amazing what one thing at a time. We talk
Yes.
about the events. We have our own event coming up in February. There's my shameless plug for everybody. The Roofing Success Summit in February, roofingsummit.com. You can check it out. And the thing is, there you can go to these events, and even if you only get one or two things, it could completely change the course of your business, of your life, really. And same thing with me. I can relate to that too. Is it got to a certain point in my career that I was like, I just we'd seen some success. We just learned. I'm an avid. I want to learn from as many people as I can. So I started reading a ton of books, and any business book I could read, I'd read. And then I finally was like, well, let's go ahead and take the plunge and start hiring coaches. And to this day, I have amazing mentors and coaches that I
Yes.
still lean on, that pour into me on a regular basis. And I developed a passion for not only the education and what I've gained out of it, but then people started asking me, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And I just developed a passion for that. And that's what kind of led me to get into coaching myself. Whereas where the Roofing Academy was born, and that's kind of now what we do is have a whole team of
Yes.
people that coach others and that pour into other roofing contractors. And it's not about, hey, here's your bells and whistles. Here's the step-by-step process to become a millionaire. I mean, there's so much more to it because we're trying to identify unique challenges and opportunities within the business. But what we're also
Yes.
doing is trying to develop the leadership and the leader who's leading that business. And I would
That's
say,
right.
just from the story I've heard so far, that was a big shift in it happened with you as you got into the leadership place. And from what I understand, I mean, your team is just super dialed in. They're team Letitia, and they're all about it. And that's amazing. It's so cool to see your journey. So how did we're gonna dive into the next step here, some more fun stuff. How did you get to a place where the Lion Foundation? I don't even want to talk too much about it because I want to hear the whole story of how that happened and how that educational piece came about.
It really stemmed from around 2012. My son's school, they sent over notices saying, "Hey, parents, can you please bring pencils and paper and paper towel and stuff to our classroom? These are things that we're lacking." And I'm just like, "That's crazy. How are schools?" lacking in pencils and paper, the basic needs. And I started a program in my roofing company called Give Back to Save Our Schools. And what I would do is donate. At that time, I would donate 1% of every roofing job that I did, and my client can choose the school that they wanted that percentage to go to. So for about 2 years, that's what we did, and it just ended up being a very popular thing, and it also ended up being a reason why people wanted to go with my company. I didn't realize how much of a marketing tool that would be, because I was really doing it to help our school system. And I got a huge response from people. They would give me a lot of feedback on, yeah, the reason why we went with your company and you were $5,000 more than someone else is because you give back to the community. And I was like, oh, wow. And I started thinking more about how much I really wanted to do that more on a larger scale. And I met with a coach who does puts together nonprofits and foundations. And I told her all the things that I wanted to do that were really passionate to me. And she said, "Great, let's put that together. What are you going to call it?" And I said immediately, I want to call it the Lime Foundation. She asked, why Lime? Lime is my son's name spelled backwards. My son's name is Emil. And I was bullied as a kid growing up in a very small town. Weren't a lot of Black people in my town. And I was severely bullied, whether I was spit on or called names on a daily basis. I was mainly told I'd never amount to anything because I'm Black and ugly. And that was really hard for me as a little kid, trying to, survive. And music was a way for I was able to escape from all of that hatred, and it changed my life forever because I was able to find a way to have a positive outlook and outlet to all that negativity. And I moved on to, like I said, wanting to be in music. Graduated from high school. Well, my son went through that same thing when he was around my same age, 7 years old. He's multiracial, and he was called the N-word for the first time. And he came home to me and asked, "Mom, why do kids hate me?" And I started talking to him about, what I went through as a kid and how he needs to push forward. Don't let those bullies, take over him. And he didn't. And that was really great for me. And when I knew that I wanted a nonprofit that was going to mean something to me forever, I knew right away that Lime Foundation would be it. Kids would call him Lime just to tease and bully him. I know being called Lime is not the worst thing ever, but it was a form of bullying. And that's a very big thing in my life is to help young kids that have gone through really poor self-esteem or been bullied or gone through trauma in their lives. I wanted to have an outlet for them, and that's what my nonprofit does. We have an outlet for young people.
That's awesome. That's so such a powerful story. And the sad part is, it's like, yes, that happened when you were a kid, but that sort of thing still happens to this day.
Yes.
And being aware is just is our duty, right? No matter what background, race we are, we've got to help just raise awareness. And I don't know if a whole lot of my story as well, but I was raised in a mixed family as well. So my mom remarried when I was 18 months old, and she was and my dad, I grew up with a black dad. Both my sisters are mixed. So and we didn't grow up in a place where it was we didn't we did my parents worked hard, and we had what we needed, right? We were
Yes.
taken care of, but it wasn't like an extravagant lifestyle. It was very middle class. And church on Sundays, every once in a while we'd have enough money for dinners, a little dinner out with the kid, with the family. If not, we just grew up, and it wasn't, and I did live in some neighborhoods that weren't affluent, and they weren't, I lived one block away from a really, really tough neighborhood. So I kind of grew up as like a confused white kid, not knowing what's going on. But
Yes.
being in that environment, I saw it from
Yes.
a number of different perspectives. So I think it's given me a unique perspective, in life as an adult, which, I feel I take ownership, my responsibility to try to raise awareness of some of the, the social challenges that we still continue to deal with to this day.
Yes.
Growing up, watching my sisters and what they had to go through, it's just devastating. And I'm grateful that we have this platform to bring that up, because it's still prevalent this day. And now you have roofing, right? It's a very, very male and white
Yes.
male dominated industry. It just
Very
is.
much.
And it's our mission to grow the industry, right? And put good people in good positions, and to help grow this industry. And why are we staying in our little box? That doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
So I'm very, my dad used to teach diversity to different businesses growing up, and I was on the diversity council in high school. Like, I've always been all about that. And it's interesting because my other sister, who's not in the roofing business, you guys know Bree. She's been on the show a few times, and she's the CEO of my roofing company. She's mixed, but my other sister is also in this space, not roofing, but she just started a foundation dedicated to funding for female and minority-owned companies. Like, that's it. It's incredible. She's worked her way up in the world as CFO of major organizations, and created this fund, and it was the first one of its kind. And it's amazing what the companies and the banks and the big organizations that are backing that up. So all that is just a little inkling of for me to say thank you for doing what you're doing, and to be out here and to share your story, because
Thank you.
it's so needed, and we're trying to grow an amazing industry. This is the best way to do it, in my mind.
Yes, I have to agree. I mean, as a black female in this roofing industry, that has been a constant challenge from day one. I remember my very first networking event that I went to when I first became CEO, and I just wanted to blend in with the contractors. And so I'd always, my way of blending in was, I chopped my name down to LR Hanke, and I was wearing my polo shirts and my jeans and my boots, anything to just kind of blend in with the guys. And my first networking function, I walk in, and they're at the bar hanging out, and I kind of walk over, and they see my polo shirt with my logo, and they're just like, "Oh, you work for ARS Roofing?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm the CEO." And the contractors laughed and said, "Huh, from the kitchen to the rooftops, huh?" And that was my
Oh,
very, very first interaction with this group. And that's what was like for me for a while. I had to really prove myself that I knew I knew what I was doing. I'm here to stay. And I can't tell you the countless time people won't shake my hands, or still to this day, won't even open their door after we've made an appointment to see each other. It's been like that, but I realized I don't have to do business with those people. And the more that I started steering away from that and putting my name out there and putting my face out there so that way everyone they know I'm a female, they know I'm Black right away. Those are the people that I'm working with, and those are the people that have literally catapulted my business. So it's been a journey. It's going to always be there, and I know that, but I don't have to do business with those people, and that's actually been better for me. It's brought me greater joy. So
Yeah, you get to make that choice, just like they make a choice.
yes,
Their choice is a terrible one. That's the way I look at it. That's God's to deal. God will deal with them in the right timing, right? All we
correct.
can do is wake up and be the best versions of ourselves, regardless of who we are and how we've been, what we look like, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, man, I love this. All right, so we're gonna start the process of wrapping here because I want to dive in a little bit more as to exactly what you guys do over at Lime. It started the
Yes.
foundation from your son, and the backstory. And what you guys do is just so cool, and I think there's ways for other roofers to get involved. So we're gonna come right back. This show wouldn't be possible if it weren't for our amazing sponsors.
JobLimits is a fully customizable back office solution.
Track leads, jobs, tasks from one easy-to-use software.
And with the largest ecosystem of integrated partners, if we don't do it, we have a friend who does.
Learn how the #1 back office system in roofing
can help you be efficient, be organized, be professional, and be profitable.
Are you looking to stand out with your proposal? Sumo Quote is the contractor quote that crushes the competition. It is the fastest way to build custom quotes that impresses clients and wins more work. It's one of those must-have technologies for roofing contractors, allowing them to sell faster, sell more, and sell smarter. Be sure to check them out at try.sumoquote.com/start, build, grow.
All right, we are back, and man, it's been such a cool show. So grateful to hang out with you, Letitia. And we're talking about your foundation that you created for your son. Well, basically, we got the backstory. It's your son's name spelled backwards, basically like a nice FU to all the bullies that were jerks, right, growing up. But what do you guys do, and how does this thing work? It's so intriguing to me.
Sure. Well, one of our programs is called the Next Gen Trades Academy. So around 2015, when I started the nonprofit, I started doing a roundtable with a bunch of my contractors. I mean, my plumbers, electricians, like we all got together. We all belonged to a networking group, and we'd always meet once a week to talk about what we're looking for. And the one thing I noticed every week after week, was they would talk about how they're having a hard time finding employees. They, either hire someone who's, a goober, meaning they've been around for 20 years and they're like, I know everything, and come with bad attitudes and bad habits, or they have some young person that just doesn't show up to work. And I said, well, you guys, what if I started a program where we're training young people to get into the contractors trades and teaching them, basic soft skills and learning skills? Would you be willing to be a mentor? Would you be willing to hire them? And all of them said yes. It was 14 contractors. We started off with 14 contractors. We're now up to 169. And
Wow.
they said, yes, we are ready. So I did it. I started a program in 2017, and we started off at a high school. And this high school was worried because a lot of their seniors were dropping out of school. They were dropping out in their senior year. And they said, we need something. We need some help. And we started there with about 25 of their students. And we did this whole process where we introduced in that class, about 14 different trades to these students. So we talk to them about how to get into solar, why to get into solar, and we bring in contractors that tell their stories. And the fun part about it is that these contractors are telling stories of like being bullied. They're telling stories of how they were getting in trouble when they were younger. And then they found, when they were 15, they started working with their uncle's uncle, doing electrical. And they're telling these great stories to these young people that are just kind of at risk and in need of, these mentors. And then when they graduate from our program, these contractors are hiring them. Matter of fact, where we are right now today, we can't hold enough classes to meet the demand of the amount of contractors that are hiring and wanting to hire out of our program. So a lot of our students that are graduating right now, they're getting, 2, 3, 4 job offers right out of our program. And they're basically picking whoever gives them the best offer at this point,
Hey,
who has medical and who has
supply and
the
demand.
highest
Let's
rate of
go.
pay. And that's what it is. And my focus was that I really wanted to help. I was one of those kids that just didn't know what I wanted to do when I went to college. I'm just like, yeah, I want to do music, but how's that really going to make me money? And I ended up dropping out of college in my senior year because of the huge promotion that I ended up getting. When I was promoted up to office manager, it came with a pretty hefty pay raise. And I was 21 years old at that time. And all these young people that we're working with, they're ages 16 to 24. So some of them are the same. They've either dropped out of college or don't want to go to college or still don't know what they want to do with their lives, but they like working with their hands. And so now by introducing these trades to them, something that they've never heard of because they don't talk about it in school. They don't talk about, hey, you could be a plumber. They talk about plumber's crack. Yeah, that's always an ongoing joke, right? But the thing is, those plumbers that you're joking about with the plumber's crack are making $250,000 a year, or more. Some of them are making more. And that's what we're teaching these young people is that you can actually have an amazing career in the construction trades. And roofing wise, I've hired 4 of the students out of my program, 2 of which have moved on to higher positions at a couple other companies. I was a stepping stone for them, and 2 of them are still with me right now. So it's something that I love and adore.
I love it. I gotta ask. Okay, so what are the key trades that you guys teach, and what are the popular ones versus the not so popular ones?
Electrical is number 1. Everyone wants to go into electrical. They've always heard of, some friend or some person that's talked about electrical, even though they don't really know what it is. That is our number 1 out of every class. If I have a class of like 20 students, 12 of them are wanting to be electricians. So that's number 1. And then number 2 is really been roofing. It's hard to find them to want to go into roofing because some of them are afraid of heights. They're like, how high do I have to be? I'm like, oh, pretty high. So that's unfortunately is. So when I hear someone, when they say they like our first day of class, we ask them what trades they are considering. And anytime I hear someone that says roofing, I literally jump out of my seat because I'm always so excited to hear that someone wants to be a roofer. So electrical is definitely number 1. And then lately it's been HVAC and sheet metal. That's been one that we've been hearing a lot about. So yeah, those are the ones but the trades that we teach the most, like almost every class, is solar, carpentry. We've been getting a lot of students that want to go into carpentry and general building. And then HVAC, plumbing, painting, and electrical, and then interior design and decorating is the number ones that we have through every single class. So the rest of the trades, we have 24 trades total, like green building, and we also do agriculture because there's a lot of trades that are in agriculture, but they get we like plug them in. Every class, there's only 14 trades we can go through. So it just depends on, which ones they're interested at the time. But the 6 that I listed earlier are the ones that are the most popular.
Nice. Yeah, it's so cool. We need to multiply you by 1,000 and we do all over the country and be able to do this all over. I mean, and you are working on it. It's, man, it's so awesome to know that that's happening out there. And because we all feel it, right? We're all in the construction place, and sitting behind a desk is not for everybody, and that's okay. I'll tell you, I missed the days where I just got to go, and I was a carpenter by trade, so I missed the days where it was just get up early, go to work, grab the tools, grab your tool bags, and just build and create something special. Like I was a home builder. I did decks, fences, framing, all the things. I just love that aspect of it. I still do some, I built this little wall behind me. I still every once in a while kind of, do a little work here and there, but I do miss that. And I think there's it's just undervalued where they're like, oh, no more wood shop, no more auto shop, and all these things in schools. I just don't understand that. Why are we not focusing on people's natural skill sets and natural abilities and things that they actually like and are interested in? And why are we devaluing some of the most important and good paying jobs in the world? It was funny. We just on one of my sales call earlier, and one one of my salesmen who's been with me for a while, he's got a degree in finance. And his dad was out just visiting, and he took him around to some job sites. He's like, yeah, I went to school got a degree in finance, but I make 3 times the amount of money in roofing sales and project management and I'm in roofing. And he's like, I wouldn't have it any other way. I love my job. I love the freedom. I love the life this creates. So if we have anything to do with it, that's what the show's all about. That's why we share these journeys. That's why we do this, is to shed a light on an amazing opportunity in industry, not just in roofing, construction trades. I mean, let's just named off a number of trades out there, and it's growing. It's, if you really are listening to this, or you have family or friends or somebody listening to this that you want to get them interested. One, if you're in your area, where are you located again? In what part of California?
I'm in Northern California, right above San Francisco. I'm about an hour north of San Francisco, so Santa Rosa. And our program right now, we're in most of the East Bay. We're in the whole North Bay area. So that's East Bay, Oakland area, Napa, Marin County, Santa Rosa area. That's right now where we're servicing students. We have some out-of-state students that have taken the program. 2 have been hired out of state already. 1 got relocated from Tennessee to California to work. So we are working our way out of the state, and we've been getting a lot of interest from people that want to have the program in their areas. So we're going to be doing a lot of information about that, so people can follow us online or just send an email to me, and we'll keep you informed.
Awesome. Okay. Where do I find that information? You have a website? How do I contact you and stay connected?
The best way is on our website, which is the limefoundation.org. And that is lime, like the lemon lime. And when you go online, you'll see our Next Gen Trades Academy and the contact us. That is absolutely the best way to get in touch with us, because my team will respond and let everyone know when our next informational Zoom will be, and any questions they have. We're happy. There's lots of videos. You can see the TV shows that we've been on. You can watch, all the interviews we've done about the program. And I always highly recommend that you do that, because it gives you a better insight of the whole program and what we're all about.
Very, very cool. All right. So definitely go to the Lime Foundation. limefoundation.com. Is that correct?
.org. The limefoundation.org. Yeah. limefoundation.org.
All right. So we're going to wrap here in just a little bit, but I actually want to pick your brain a little bit, because I know that reminded me, right? Was it Mike Rowe? Before we get into that, I want to hear that story of how you guys got on the TV shows and some of the things you did. But after that, we always close in traditional fashion with the show with our guests. We want to hear kind of your best piece of advice. We call it the golden nugget. What's like, if you're talking to a young entrepreneur, or any entrepreneur that's trying to make things happen in life, we want to hear your kind of best piece of advice for them. But before that, talking about the show, because I think the last time I saw you at Best of Success, that was like just happening. So I haven't really heard much since that all went down.
Yeah, it just happened. They saw an article. His producer saw this article that I did. We had just been on like the Kelly Clarkson show, and something was circulating around, and they saw it about our program, and they surprised me, pretending like they were doing a show about, me as a woman in construction. Oh, we want to do this article on you. And they flew in a camera crew, and I'm just like, oh, neat. And as you'll see on the show, Mike surprises me. He comes up from behind me and he's like, are you Letitia Hanke? I'm like, yeah. And I just thought he was like another camera crew person. And he comes around this corner and I'm like, oh my God, I know you. And they came, they gave us a large grant so that way we could do a couple more cohorts of our class. They gave us a whole bunch of tools. So now we give tools to every student that graduates from our program. That way, they don't have an expense of $600 or $700 of buying tools. And it was just a really beautiful opportunity for people around the country to see what we do. And it was huge. And it's a really fun episode. And I encourage you, if you've got a spare 20 minutes, just to watch it, because it's very uplifting and very beautiful. And I'm always grateful to that team for choosing us that day.
And what show was it again?
It's called Returning the Favor. So it's Mike Rowe's Returning the Favor. And you can find it pretty easily. It's on Facebook. It's a Facebook show that they have. If you just do a find in there, you'll see it. Or just go to my website, because it's there. It's on my
Yeah,
website.
yeah, there
When
we
you
go.
go to my
Just
website,
go to the
you'll
website. Let's
see.
plug the website.
Yeah, it's so much easier to just go right there and click on the videos, and you'll see the video there. That way, you don't have to go to try to find it. It's just on my website,
Love
thelionfoundation.org.
it. Very cool. All right, Letitia, it's been so great hanging out with you, and I look forward to connecting with you and staying close to you as we continue our journeys together in the roofing space as entrepreneurs. All right, it is time to send us home the right way. What is your golden nugget? I'm a young entrepreneur, a new entrepreneur. I gotta say the word. I just turned 40, so now everybody's younger than me now. It's like a weird mindset thing, but I'm a new entrepreneur, right? Just getting going in this business or in any business. What is the best piece of advice I can give from you?
I have to definitely say that my best piece of advice that I've given quite a bit of times is don't give up, even when you're at your worst. You think you're at your worst. Don't give up, because one of the best pieces of advice that I've been given from a business coach was that there's always going to be peaks and valleys in life, but it's, especially in business, you could be down in that valley and you're like, oh no, I'm going to have to file bankruptcy, and oh no, I'm going to have to shut down my business. But you know that there is a peak on the way, and that's what's really kept me going all these years through the ups and downs. You have to imagine in my business, we've gone through multiple fires, the recession, we had COVID, all of that happening, and we're still here. And I just know that works. And that's what comes to my head every single time, is I know that I'm in that valley, but I know that peak is on the way, and just don't give up and know that it's going to work out in some way or another. It's going to work out, and to utilize your coaches and your mentors, the people that are around you, to help keep that positivity in your life.
I love it. There's peaks and valleys, man. That's so profound. We all have heard it. Oh yeah, there's gonna be ups and downs, but it's so profound when you're in it, right? When you're in the thick of it. The only way to get through the tough times, or to get past the tough times, is to get through the tough times, right?
Yes.
And I would add on, if you're not learning, you're not growing, right? Failure doesn't exist if you quit. If you don't quit, if you just constantly learn and grow and pivot, as we learned earlier. There's our business lesson of the show. Learn what the art of the pivot from Letitia Hanke. Hey, thank you so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure. We're looking forward to it. And if you guys haven't, if you're just now getting connected with this show, we'd love for your feedback, love for your comments. Leave us a review. You can also subscribe, regardless of where you're listening to, where you're listening or what you're watching on. We're all over the place on all the platforms. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like. Make sure to tune in next time we release the show. This has been the Start, Build, Grow Show with Letitia Hanke. Thank you, everybody. God bless.
Thank you.